Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Namaskar to all of you. Welcome to the study of Vivekachudamani, the Crest-Jewel of Discrimination, written by Bhagavan Shankaracharya. Please note that the live chat has been enabled to this video. If you have any questions relating to this discourse, please type it in the live chat and I'll try to respond to them at the end of today's discourse or next week's discourse. Thank you. Now, today we are continuing the study of the 12th verse of the Vivekachudamani. So we will chant that 12th verse and then go to the simple meaning and then to the deeper explanation of that particular verse. So, Samyak Vicharataha Siddha Rajju Tattvavadharana Bhrantyodita Mahasarpa Bhava Dukkha Vinashini. So, will you please chant it after me? Samyak Vicharataha Samyak Vicharataha Siddha Siddha Rajju Tattvavadharana Rajju Tattvavadharana Bhrantyodita Bhrantyodita Mahasarpa Mahasarpa Bhava Dukkha Vinashini Bhava Dukkha Vinashini. What is the simple meaning of this verse, the 12th verse? By proper reasoning, self-enquiry, getting the proper knowledge, the conviction about the reality of the rope is gained. This puts an end to the great misery of samsara caused by the serpent, which arose by delusion. Now that is the simple meaning. Going into the detail of this 12th verse, it is well known that a man filled with fear due to his thinking that the rope which he saw in the twilight was a serpent. We gave this example. We saw the story of the farmer coming in the twilight and seeing the snake there, poisonous snake, and all those things. We have explained it in detail. So it is well known that a man filled with fear due to the thinking that the rope which he saw in the twilight was a serpent, he gets rid of that fear and the trembling and the pain when he understands the truth about the object by proper examination by the light of a lamp. The serpent that arose in the rope, note it, the serpent that arose in that rope in the twilight was due to delusion. It was not a reality, isn't it? The grief and fear caused by such misapprehension, both these are destroyed by proper examination with the light. This is called Rajju Tattvava Dhritihi, the conviction of the truth about the rope. In the same way, Samyak Vichara, proper reasoning, discrimination between the right and the wrong, real and the unreal, God and that which is not. Samyak Vichara is applied to the destruction of the grief of repeated birth and death, which is samsara. How is it produced? It's not a reality, which is produced by delusion, avidya, ignorance. If you bring in the light of knowledge of God, then that false delusion of this pain, the birth and death, the chain of birth and death, the sufferings, all that thing will reduce. How is it reduced? By bringing that can be reduced only by bringing in the proper knowledge. So the self-inquiry. So light can remove darkness, nothing else. Likewise, Shankaracharya in the beginning itself is explaining that only knowledge of God, knowledge of our real self, that is Atmaswarupa, only that so can destroy the delusion. Just like the snake was a delusion upon the rope, the innocent rope which was lying there in the twilight, because of the fear, brought in a snake-like thing which looked real to him. Until then he had so much of fear, he had to run away, bring in other people, so much of fear, so much of anxiety, all that was created. Likewise, even though there is no pain, there is no repeated birth and death, it is all the projection, it's all the delusion upon the reality, that is the Atman or God. So to remove that delusion, to remove this pain of repeated birth and death of the samsara, which is produced by the delusion or the avidya or ajnana, the ignorance, what can you do? What is the only way? There is only one way, that is bring in knowledge, because this is caused by ignorance. The opposite of ignorance is only knowledge. So bring in the knowledge of the Atman or Parabrahma Swarup or God, whatever Paramatman, that only can remove this fear, this pain, the repeated samsara, the repeated birth and death, the grief, so that can be destroyed, vinashini, produced by delusion. Such samyak vichara, proper self-inquiry, samyak, it should be very nice, it should be done very well. Such samyak vichara has for its effect the conviction about the truth of the self, our self, that is Atman, our real nature, which is of the direct realization of the highest Godhead, Parabrahma Swarupa or Paramatman. Thus, the analogy of the rope serpent delusion is fulfilled in every respect. The shloka or this verse, the 12th verse, is intended to convey that the means to obtain conviction of the truth can arise only by listening to the words of the beneficent person, Apta. Because you are already in delusion, so how much ever vichara you do, it may not be of much use. So you need the help of a person who has already realized the truth, who is already expert in the scriptural text. What are scriptures? They are the experiences of the great sages and saints, the rishis, who have gone through all this process and realized their true nature. So that record of all those their experience is nothing but scriptures. And presently, the living Guru who has realized this truth is the Apta, one who can bring in the destruction or the vinashini of the delusion. That is the idea. So this verse, the 12th verse, is intended to convey that the means to obtain conviction of the truth can arise only by listening to the words of the beneficent person, Apta, that can be Guru, and also the Shastra Vakya, the scriptural text, and then by self-inquiry, after hearing, getting the clarity, removing the ignorance up to some extent, and then by self-inquiry, based on that, and not by any other action. Because whatever action, you may bring the stick to kill, you may beat that snake, you may burn the snake. Will it remove the fear of the snake? So only by bringing in the light and seeing yourself can destroy. Getting the knowledge that it's a rope, it's not a snake, can only remove the delusion. Likewise, only by realizing, getting the knowledge of God which is within you, the Atma Swarupa Paramatma, can only give you the highest knowledge or the liberation, or take you away. It can destroy Vinashini, the repeated birth and death that is called samsara, the sorrow, the grief which is caused by that, all that will be removed. So that is the idea. So we shall think about this from another perspective too, from another angle too. So we should always relate it to our present day life, isn't it? So now, samyak vicharatah siddha rajjutatvavadharana bhrantyodita mahasarpa bhaya dukkha vinashini. The fear and sorrow created by the delusory serpent on the rope can be ended only after fully ascertaining the truth of the rope, which is available for recognition only through the steady and balanced thinking, the self-inquiry. Why? The discovery of the self is not possible through karma or any other thing other than getting in the knowledge. Why is that? The discovery of the self or Atman is not possible through the action, karma. And how this is possible by means of right thinking is being explained here. By the famous analogy of the serpent and the rope. In the Vedanta, this example is often quoted to make the student understand how the names and forms created through the ignorance of reality can end with the rediscovery of the truth underlying them. It is never possible that one who has seen the rope as a rope will ever have the fear and sorrow of a snake bite. Suppose a person has seen that rope as a rope in the full blaze of light, can never get the delusion that it is a snake, and also the fear and sorrow of the snake bite. But in the gathering darkness of dusk, a traveler mistakes an innocent rope to be a snake. The serpent delusion is created in the mind of the traveler or the farmer because of his ignorance of the rope reality. He may also go and put his leg on the rope and think that that is a snake and it has bitten him too. He might be deluded to think that it has bitten him. That fear also may be there, because by the fear also many people die, though the snake might have not bitten them, or even if it has bitten them, the poison might have not gone in. So just out of fear people die. Having thus been bitten by a delusory serpent, the individual, so long as he is under the delusion, suffers the agony of a snake bite, and if left alone will exhibit symptoms of blood poisoning too, because it is all psychosomatic, it is mind related. So he may exhibit symptoms of blood poisoning too, but the traveler is advised to make an inquiry into his delusion. Faithful friends or near and dear ones will approach the deluded one and exclaim, "Let us go." They may tell, "That is not a snake, it is a rope." But he may not have faith. So now they will take him with the light and show it to him. It's not a snake but a rope. So faithful friends or near and dear ones will approach the deluded one and exclaim, "Oh, it is only a length of rope." He will accept this statement as a possibility because of his faith in his friends. And also he will go and see. But however much he may try, he will not enjoy complete peace of mind unless he himself sees the rope as a rope. The moment he is led to the place of the incident and in a clear light he discovers the rope for himself, then the fear, the anxiety, the delusion, the delusory snake and its bite all will end. No amount of beating the rope in the darkness, that is actions, can kill the snake, or even burning that rope may cause more the reality delusion, because you may think that, oh, they have burnt the snake and it was a snake bite, and he may die even after that. It may increase his anxiety. No amount of beating the rope in the darkness, that is the karma actions, can kill the snake or finally bring peace, happiness and cheer to the individual. Even if the rope is burnt, he cannot find his balance again to take his mind away from the thought of the fear and pain caused by the snake bite, for he may still believe that he was bitten by a snake and it was a snake which was burnt to ashes. So, through karmas performed even for thousands of years, one cannot come to the joy of self-discovery. So that is the only method. That is the only method which is to tread the path of the discriminative analysis. This example, famous in literature of Vedanta, is given by Bhagavan Shankaracharya only to remind us how and in what way correct thinking can blot out the miseries of life, which are only the outcome of our misunderstanding and ignorance of reality. So the moment we realize the reality, get the knowledge of the Atman, which is within us, or whatever you may call by the name Atman, Paramatman, Parabrahman, or Lord, then only all this pain, sufferings, all this repeated death and birth will vanish. Because you have got the reality, the ignorance will vanish. So that is a wonderful way Shankaracharya is bringing in the conviction that by the self-analysis, by bringing in the knowledge, we can remove that delusion. Now, we have seen this same verse. What is that? Samyak vicharataha siddha rajju tatvavadharana bhrantyodita mahasarpa bhayadukka vinashini. This 12th verse. In another perspective, we shall go study the same thing in a different angle. Our fright immediately disappears and we are in peace when we get the right knowledge in the daylight or in the bright light of the lamp. Thus, by adequate reasoning, self-inquiry, gnana, the knowledge, the light of knowledge, the conviction of the reality about the rope is gained. Samyak vicharataha siddha rajju tattva avadharana, which in turn puts an end to the great fear and misery caused by the snake worked up in the deluded mind. Bhrantyodita mahasarpa bhaya dukkha vinashini. Thus, what is the conclusion? The knowledge of the rope gives us freedom from fear. Only the knowledge of the rope. If you go and beat the snake with the rope, with the stick, or by burning the rope, will that give us the right knowledge, remove the delusion of the snake? No. The knowledge of the rope only, by taking in the light, gives us freedom from fear and anxiety caused by the false snake knowledge. We then become satisfied and we become peaceful. So, how shall we convert this knowledge into our day-to-day life? As long as we are in the delusion, taking the rope for a snake, we are in trouble. Similarly, most of us, why most? All of us are in deluded state. We have been hypnotized. We have taken ourselves to be this flimsy body, mind, complex, thinking that we are male, female, young, old, poor, brown, yellow, black, all those things, rich, etc. The root of all our suffering is this deluded understanding. Bhagavan Shankaracharya therefore asks us to shed the powerful light of reasoning and discrimination, samyak vichara, to remove this delusion, the moha, the ignorance caused by ajnana, maya, avidya, ignorance. Then alone we can gain, then alone we can gain the conviction about our true nature as the supreme consciousness. We can then realize our true freedom. We can then realize our true focus of freedom, which is never in the body, which is never in the senses, which is never in any of our actions or desires. This freedom is not to be gained from anybody. This freedom is not to be gained from anybody. We are always free, even now, but we don't know this truth. Therefore, this investigation is necessary to gain the conviction about our true nature. Nothing new is brought in here. It is already there. Only thing is you have to remove the veil of ignorance. You have to get the knowledge. The blazing light of knowledge, you can get the true reality. That is told here. So now we shall go to the next verse. We have finished the study of the 12th verse. We shall go to the 13th verse. So what is Sri Shankaracharya trying to impress upon us, or he is trying to tell us? So we shall first chant the 13th verse and then look into the meaning, simple meaning, and go to the in-depth meaning of the verse. So what is the 13th verse trying to tell? This verse is intended to convey that the means to obtain conviction of the truth can arise only by listening to the words of the beneficent person, that is apta, and then by self-inquiry based on that and not by any other actions. Again, that is reiterated earlier. Shankaracharya is told that no amount of karma, action, can bring in the knowledge. It is only by self-inquiry. It's only by proper discrimination, awareness, mindfulness, that it can, doing all the work with mindfulness, that you can realize the truth. So now, what is this 13th verse? Let us chant this. Arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. So, arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. So, shall we chant this? Will you please repeat this verse after me, the 13th verse? Arthasya nishchayo. Arthasya nishchayo. Drishto vicharena. Drishto vicharena. Hitoktitaha. Hitoktitaha. Nasnanena. Nasnanena. Na danena. Na danena. Pranayama shatena va. Pranayama shatena va. With the background of the earlier, the 12th verse, where Shankaracharya has told us only knowledge can take away ignorance. Only light can take away darkness. So whatever other things you may do, that may not directly lead, it may give you the purity of mind. All the other actions, the homa, havan, puja, everything may give you purity of mind. It may increase your sattva. It may increase your punya, by which you can understand and you can do this vichara, self-inquiry. That's all. All the other karmas can only take you up till then. That's why again Shankaracharya is reiterating, telling it again that all these karma, the snana, the Ganga snana, going to the Triveni Sangama, all that snana in the different tirthas, or the pranayama which you do, then the charity work which you do can bring you more punya, can bring you more sattva, can bring you more purity of mind, which can lead to the stage where you have the capacity to understand the knowledge, get the knowledge. It will make you a fit person, a fit recipient of knowledge. So these things, whether the Ganga Snana or the Yamuna Snana or the Tirtha Snana or the Triveni Snana, that is the taking bath in the sacred rivers, and the dana, the charity, the work you do, pranayama and other things, the yoga which you do, will not directly give you the knowledge of the self or the freedom until you do these actions with the knowledge, the background of the discriminative faculty, with awareness that is, it is done for the sake of Atma-jnana, for the realization of the self, for the highest mukti, to realize your real nature. Then they can only give you punya, which may give you more bondage. So that may not lead you directly to self-knowledge, freedom. So you can do all those things. Shankaracharya is not denying the snana, the tirtha snana, that is the bath in the sacred rivers, or the dana, charity, or the pranayama and other yogic exercises and the breathing, breath control and all those things. If you do with the awareness that is for the self-realization, for the highest, with that idea, then that will lead you to the higher things, make you fit for the self-knowledge, for higher freedom. But if those things are done for the sake of punya, to get other worlds, that may not help you much. So that is the idea behind this. Let us go what it is. Let us see what this simple meaning, the conviction of the truth. We shall now chant this verse again. Arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha nasnanena nadanena pranayama shatena va. The conviction of the truth is seen to arise only from inquiry and the trustworthy upadesha, advice, not by bath, not by gift, or the hundreds of breathing exercises, breath control, pranayama. So, what does it mean? A man is subject to self-delusion due to the defect of ajnana. Should always know what is the cause. Go to the root cause. What is the root cause for this self-delusion? It is due to the defect of ajnana, that is ignorance, absence of knowledge. The means of rescue from such delusion, by the words of the beneficent person, that is the Guru, he is the Apta, one who has realized his true nature already, one who has got the knowledge, one who has got the blazing knowledge of the Atma-jnana. So, such a beneficent person are not available to us. Hence, he is subject to the evils of fear and trembling and all these miseries. This condition is not in a fit state of mind to make an enquiry on his own, to do the discrimination, because he is already in fear, he is already in despondency, he is already in anxiety, he is already in this ignorance. So, what is the remedy? The remedy is a Guru, a Apta, just like Lord Krishna came to Arjuna when Arjuna was in despondency. That's why the very first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So, who will remove the delusion, the despondency, the melancholy, the shoka, vishada? It's only the Apta, the person who has already realized. Here for Arjuna, the Apta was Lord Krishna himself, the Avatara, greatest of avatars. So, like that, here for us, we may not get such great avatars. We may get our Guru, who has realized God, the Apta. So, hence, the subject to this evil of fear and trembling, in this condition, we are not in a fit state of mind to make an inquiry, self-inquiry, vichara, on our own. Hence, to start him on it, the words of the beneficent person, the Apta. Who is that beneficent person who has already realized this true nature of the self? That is the Guru. And also, we can take it as the scriptures. What are scriptures? They are the records, they are the experiences of all the sages and saints who have realized the Atman earlier, and the record of that is nothing but scriptures. So now the scriptures and the Guru, the Apta, one who has realized God, the Atman, will help us. Hence, to start, the words of the beneficent person, the Guru, Apta, the scriptures being beneficial, Hitatva indicates the utterance of the correct significances. Yathartha Vaktrutvam, correct knowledge, giving the correct knowledge. What is conveyed by these is that without making an inquiry in accord with the words of the beneficent person, Hitokti, Guru, if a deluded person, he performs all these karmas like taking bath or doing charity, any gifts, and the hundreds of pranayama, there will not be any direct perception. So we have to do all these things, all the karmas, all our sadhanas, with the guidance, with the light of the Hitokta, the Apta, the person who has already realized God, the Atman, that is the Guru, and also the scriptures. Otherwise, we are already deluded, we have the delusion, we have the Ajnana. If a deluded person performs all these karmas like bath, gifts, and hundreds of pranayama, there will not be any direct perception, which alone can remove the delusion. How then will the delusion, which leads to a number of undesirable effects, ever disappear, other than the guidance of the great people like Guru, or who has already realized God, or the Shastra Vakyas or the scriptures? So after that, that doesn't end there. After you get the knowledge, you have to do the self-inquiry and find it for yourself. They may tell you, the Aptas may tell you, this is the right knowledge, this is the right thing to do. But you have to get the conviction, the faith. So you have to experience that yourself. So vichara is a mental operation which conduces to the conviction of the actual nature of an object. That's called vichara. What is vichara? Or discrimination or inquiry is a mental operation which conduces to the conviction of the actual nature of any object. Therefore, it is inquiry arising out of the listening to the words of the beneficent person, which will lead to right understanding in respect of the object of delusion. That being so, the teaching of Sri Shankaracharya, the Bhagavad Pada, here is this. In this context, having inquired about the Atman, God, following the words of the Shruti, that is the scriptures, and the Upadesha of the Guru, the realized soul, getting direct perception of its true nature, then afterwards we make the self-inquiry and realize it, know the truth for ourselves. One should disentangle the Atman from this samsara, from this transmigratory existence, separate it, which is the non-Atman, this world, this samsara, this body-mind complex, separate it from it, which has been superimposed on it. So the effects of karmas will secure only to one who is proficient, who is qualified for the performance of those specific karmas. they will not accrue to a person who is not thus proficient, qualified. Therefore, the external features of the desha and kala in respect of karma are only auxiliaries to it. To convey that internal mental qualification alone will be faithful in this regard. That's why Sri Shankaracharya will take us to the next discussion, that is the 14th verse, but we will not go to the 14th verse now. We have to do some more inquiry. We have to understand this 13th verse itself from another angle. Let us see what are the other ways by which we can understand this. We have now made a in-depth study what Shankaracharya had to tell, but now we have to connect that to our life, make it relevant in today's condition. Shankaracharya has told these, given this knowledge, and with the example of the things of his period. Now, unless we connect it to the present day life, it will not be so effective to us. It may not bring in conviction. So now that's the reason why I am discussing all these things from different angles. So let us study from another angle. Arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. Neither sacred baths nor any amount of charity, nor even hundreds of pranayamas can give us the knowledge about our own self, but a firm experience of the nature of the self can be gained when we send our thoughts along the rails of arguments laid down in the salutary advices of the wise people. Here again, we find the superficial methods of easy religious practices telling that Shankaracharya is telling, he is not condemning it, but he is telling without the proper guidance of the Guru or by the scriptures, all these charities, all those things, bath and other things, they are leading us to punya, more sattva, purity of the mind, but it may not give us direct perception of the Atman or the realization of the Atman to get the knowledge, freedom. So when you do it in the guidance under the blazing light of the hitokti, the apta, the Guru Vakya, the scriptural direction, then even these things can be fruitful. And then not only that, it doesn't end there. They want to show you the way, but you have to do the self-inquiry yourself. Do the sadhana, find out for yourself, see the truth yourself, realize it. So the Guru and the Aptavakya can guide you, can show with a flash of light that this is the thing, everything they can guide you. But you have to get that. You have to eat the food yourself and then get the assimilation. So that is very, very important here. So this verse should not be taken as a condemnation, or Shankaracharya is telling that you have to give up the sacred bath in the Triveni Sangama or Ganga or Yamuna or Narmada. Never. That's not the idea what Shankaracharya is telling. So many people, the negative tendencies people, they don't see the positive thing in it. See only that negative part and take it wrongly. That is not the idea here. So charity has to be done. The pilgrimages and the sacred baths are to be done. So the dana, the charity, the karma yoga has to be done. Pranayama yoga also will help. So don't take it out of context and just quote Shankaracharya just like a devil quoting the scripture. Don't wrongly quote Shankaracharya that Shankaracharya has told that you have to give up all these things. No, that is not the idea. It has to be done for the sake of self-inquiry. It has to be done. All these karmas have to be done for the sake of God realization. Not for the sake of punya, not for the sake of some higher heaven and other things, not for the sake of long life, but for the sake of God realization, Atma Gnana. Then that will be beneficial. So that is the idea behind. Don't take the wrong meaning out of it. So people of the negative tendency will be waiting for such an opportunity to misguide. So that is not the idea. So you should be very, very careful while understanding many of the things like this. So Shankaracharya is putting on the effort to show the right direct path, in thus indicating to the Vedantic student the correct path. Every guru or master has to be very severe in his criticism by the bylanes of religions. No doubt they too can help in the progress of the individual, but they are all primary lessons. Techniques followed in the kindergarten or in the primary school are not applied in the universities. A teacher must pluck out the seeker from his floundering in the muck and mire of the marshes and put him on the firm, metalled road to truth. Therefore, external methods of self-purification such as bath at the sacred confluence of the rivers, visit to the various temples and other sacred places, desire-prompted or even unselfish charities, exercises such as breath control and asanas are told to be done for the sake of the realization of the higher self, not for the lower attainment of long life. That people who are not interested in the highest freedom, they want to live long here, long life and health and enjoy this world. Okay, that is the idea, no problem. But for the higher aspect, for the higher realization of the truth, this attitude doesn't work. So you have to change the attitude, you have to do with the awareness. It is for the sake of realization of God. So now, so don't take it as a condemnation or negating those things. They are very, very necessary. It has to be done, but under the proper guidance of the Guru and the scriptures and for the sake of realization of Atman. As the great Swami Vivekananda tells, our goal is neither luxury nor austerities. So these are all austerities. So our goal is neither luxury nor austerity. Our goal is God realization. So do all these things, anything for the sake of God realization, with the background, with the awareness, then all these karmas will help you. So that is the idea. Techniques followed in the kindergarten and in the primary school may not work out on the higher universities and the PhD level. That is the idea, that's all. So now here, this is the Atma Gnana and the other things are the highest knowledge and also for the liberation. So for that sake, just doing karmas with the idea to get punya or to enjoy the higher worlds like Swarga and other things will not help. Do all this work with the knowledge that this is for God realization, for the sake of knowing the self. So with that awareness, when you do all these things, it will help you, not with the selfish, and it should be unselfish way. So the hasty convert to Vedanta suddenly finds it very convenient to give up every religious practices and call himself a Vedantin with a false name that is accomplished Vedantin. So this attitude also has no sanction in Shankaracharya's advice here. While condemning these preliminaries, he is at the same time very strict and severe in prescribing the more subtle and intense practices of Vedanta. That aspect is very, very important. He's taking us to the higher stages, that's all. The idea is now, again, we can get a clarity by the words of Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda tells you should be born in a church, but you should not die in a church. And another saying in India is, suppose my grandfather has planted the banyan tree. So simply because of that, should I go and hang myself to that? I have to make use of the banyan tree and outgrow it. That is the idea. Likewise, all these preliminary practices, you have to outgrow it to get the highest liberation. So to show what is the highest goal, Shankaracharya is turning our minds. All these things done, karmas, dana, for the sake of just punya and enjoying this world, will not help you get the highest. That's the idea. So get the idea, read between the lines. So see the highest. For a Vedantin, Shankaracharya prescribes correct thinking and continuous self-analysis. The discrimination, Viveka, merely giving up the usual method of religious discipline is not the Vedanta prescribed by Shankaracharya. With all they are to be given up, it is only after greater abhyasa called vichara. After you have come to very near to the realization of the self, then you can give it up. Otherwise, you cannot give up. You have to do all the karmas. This Atma Vichara is not to be done in any manner that pleases the individual. There is an exact method of correct and intense thinking, and this method is advised in the scriptures. Therefore, Vichara or self-inquiry undertaken as taught by the rishis, Hitoktitaha or Guru, was realized already, got that knowledge already, alone can take us ultimately to our redemption. So we have come to know that truth. Now we shall again come make it more relevant, connecting these things to the present day. How is that? How can we do that? Let us see. Let us study the same thing from another angle, making it more relevant to our day, to our condition and our society. Arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha na snanena na danena pranayama shatena va. The conviction of the truth is seen to proceed from reasoning upon the salutary counsel of the wise, and not by simply bathing in the sacred rivers, nor by gifts, charity, dana, nor by 100 pranayamas, control of the vital forces. We can see in these verses 6 and 7 and 11 and 13 some of the radical ideas of Bhagavan Shankara. That attainment of our true self is never a direct product of work, and that it comes from knowledge, which is of the nature of our inner illumination, which destroys ignorance, the root cause of our mistaken notion of our real self. So that is the idea. Now, we always identify wrongly with our body and mind. That is the ignorance which has to be removed. That can be given by the self-knowledge. In this verse, he says that the conviction of the truth is seen to proceed from reasoning upon the salutary counsel of the wise, of the men of wisdom, study wisdom, who have realized the self. Arthasya nishchayo drishto vicharena hitoktitaha, and also our scriptures. The nature of reality is realized when we deeply think on the advice of a wise teacher, the Guru, and the scriptures. Clear, rational thinking is stressed here. We first hear about the nature of the reality from a realized teacher or from the Shruti, that is the scriptures. Based on that, we reason out the veracity of our psychophysical experiences and go deep into ourselves. Then alone we gain the strong conviction about the true nature of ourselves. Thereby we become awakened to our true nature. We can't attain this by mechanical rituals. That is the idea. It's not condemnation of all those things. Charity, the sacred bath, all the other rituals are not to be given up. It is not condemning that. But the mechanical doing of all those actions is condemned. We can't attain this by mechanical rituals, says Shankaracharya emphatically. Such a conviction is never to be gained merely by bathing in the sacred waters, by gifts, or even by 100 rounds of pranayama, nasnanena na danena, pranayama shatena va. Mere blind mechanical adherence to external rituals like bathing in holy rivers, going on pilgrimage, doing charities, or even endless pranayamas will not cause the awakening of the strong conviction about our true nature. This is so because the mind behind such action has not become illumined. Mental illumination is a phenomenon of the higher level, coming out of stern process of conscious investigation into the variety of all our experiences. This conscious reasoning This conscious reasoning and not merely the external mechanical acts of piety, not the external mechanical act of piety is the stress in this verse. Now let us go to the words of the great lady saint Mirabai while she sings, and also the great saint in South India called Basavanna, he has also told, and Purandaradas also has told, Mindalli Palavenu. What is the use of taking bath like the fish and the crocodile? They always stay in Ganga and in the sacred waters and they take bath. Always they are continuously 24/7 they are taking bath. Do they get self-realization? Do they get Atma-Gnana? They are always in Ganga. They are always in Yamuna, the fish and the crocodiles. So do they have that idea for self-realization? There are so many crows in Sri Shaila and other pilgrimage sites. There are so many monkeys, there are so many flies, so many other living beings there. Simply because they are living in that pilgrimage site, will they get liberation? No. What is the use? That's why we can see Mirabai telling, if God realization or Atma Gnana could be attained by merely bathing in a river, all fishes and crocodiles and all the bacteria, all the worms which are living there, the frogs, fishes would have realized God. God is never attained through just mechanical rituals and ceremonies. And all that ceremonies, rituals done with the awareness, with the vichara, with the conscious mind for self-attainment, for liberation, then that will be useful. That's why we need the guidance of the Guru, Aptavakya, and also the guidance of the scriptures. Their value, the value of just mechanical rituals are secondary. What is primary then? Our success in spiritual endeavors depends on the degree of stress we lay on the primary factor. And what is that primary factor is told in the next verse, the 14th verse. So we also know that is the vichara, viveka, proper discriminations, proper self-inquiry, atma vichara. So that will lead us to, so when you do all this karma with this background, with that awareness, then that will lead us to the highest. So that is the idea behind it. So we have so nicely understood the right proper way of attaining the highest. So because now in South Africa all the work stops during Christmas. Now the Christmas season will start, so everything will stop here. All work will stop for nearly 1.5 months. So from now onwards, for some days we will not be conducting these scriptural classes or any of the classes. We will make the announcement when we are going to start it again. Until then, we will be revising. You have all these scriptural classes recorded, the earlier ones, from the verse 1 or the introduction to this verse 13. We have all that classes or the discussion recorded, and it is there in our YouTube channel. You can go through that. Not only this, Bhagavad Gita, the second chapter verses are also there. Then we have the science of worship discussion also recorded and kept there. You can download it, you can go through that, you can revise everything. Then we have the discussion on the Great Master too. Everything is uploaded into our YouTube channel. You can hear it and revise it and meditate on those truths. So we will meet again, and that when we are reopening will be announced later on. So tomorrow there will be the Bhagavad Gita class at the same time from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. That is the 65th, 66th verse of the second chapter will be discussed tomorrow at the same time. Then Thursday, Friday, early morning we will have the Great Master discussion, the life of Sri Ramakrishna, written by Sharadanandaji Maharaj. So there will be no Saturday Gita class. We will be ending the class on Friday itself. There will be no Saturday Gita class. No Sunday. After that, after Saturday, there will be no more classes. we will be reopening or the classes will begin again. We will take the decision when to begin that and we will announce it. So until then, we will be revising, meditating all these truths and getting the joy of the Atman or God. Thank you. Namaste. We will end today's discussion with the verse. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. I can see there is one question in the live chat, that is, how can a mumukshu who is learning how to practice nishkama karma guard oneself against becoming a dull seeker where all action is done mechanically? So that's why Shankaracharya has given that method by the guidance of our scriptures, and if you have the yearning for realizing the highest. So with that background, just like Swami Vivekananda told, our goal is neither luxury for enjoyment of this world. Goal, yes, you may need some basic things like food and entertainment and other things. That cannot be denied. That should be basic things, that's all. And that too you can do the yoga and all other rituals you can do with the background or the mind or the attitude that all these things are done for highest realization, to please the Lord, as an offering to the Lord, to realize the highest. So when we do like that, with this offering to the Lord, Bhagavad Arpita Buddhi, then that will lead us to the highest. So the goal should be clear and all the actions have to be done with the awareness for God realization. That is what we discussed all through now. That is the only method. That's why we have the help of our gurus, we have the help of the scriptures. Reading that, we will come out of that mechanical way. So that's the goal. So you have that, as Ramakrishna puts it, intense vyakulata, the earnestness to realize God. If it is intense, then every action of yours will come out of that mechanical method and become a fruitful one. So that vyakulata to realize God, that love for God, God realization, that intense feeling for God realization, that is the important thing by which you can overcome this problem. I think that was the only question. I have answered it. So we will stop this Vivekachudamani and other things for few days or few weeks, and we will announce when we will meet again. Thank you. Namaste. Om Namo Narayana.